day out there to all of my listeners. And I'd like to welcome you to Is Your Way in Your Way podcast. And I'm your host. My name is Cassandra Crawley Mayo, and I am a transformational lifestyle mentor who empowers purpose driven women who are stuck, who look so good on the outside, but on the inside, you are really not there, and only you know. Also, emotionally kind of drained and burnt out, not having any meaning. You're just like, oh gosh, there has to be more to life than this. And so, what I do is I empower women to move forward with confidence, fulfillment, and also meaning in their lives. And this podcast, we talk about topics related to personal improvement, empowerment. And so I'd love to bring on guests that really have a great story because my prayer is always that someday somebody will listen to one of my podcasts and they will make a decision. I'm going to take the step that I need to start living my best life on your terms. And today, our title for our topic is how to see through your stories and reclaim your power, because we all have stories. And I'd like to introduce you to my special guest, Heidi Blackie. Hi, Heidi. How are you today?
Hi, Cassandra. I'm doing great, and I'm really excited to be here.
I am too. Let's just dive in. And before we dive in, I want to read a little bit of your bio because you have a huge bio, and so that people understand what qualifies you to do the work that you do. Because I like to say this: when life knocks you down so hard that you can't push through anymore. So this week, Heidi's going to share how burnout, illness, and loss became the doorway to creating an unshakable me, and how you can reclaim your purpose when everything feels impossible. So, Heidi is an occupational therapist. She's a speaker, a consultant, and a creator of Unshakable Me, a program designed to help women reconnect with themselves, break free from limiting beliefs, and live with purpose and possibility. After years of pushing through exhaustion, chronic illness, and profound personal loss, she discovered the healing power of mindfulness, belief, and self compassion. Her journey from burnout and despair to resilience and empowerment, wow, now fuels her passion for guiding others to create a life that feels aligned, whole, and unshakable. This sounds like it's just so similar to the work that I do, Heidi. So our conversation will be so dynamic.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me ask you. You were a person that sounded so much like me. You were going and going. You were like an ever ready battery. You thought that what you were doing was the way one lives their life. That's what life was like. So living to its fullest. So you felt, let me just do this, do this, do this, never stop until it's time to go to bed. And then you started thinking that, is this really what life is all about? But for your characteristic and who you were back then, the going and going, was it something in your backstory that made you believe what you were doing was the life you're supposed to be living?
Yeah. I mean, I grew up in a household where you do, and if you are sitting, you're kind of lazy. And so
Mhm,
I,
mhm.
you know, I don't want to be lazy. So
Right.
I always was kind of a doer. And then in 2000, my mom was diagnosed with bone marrow or with lymphoma, and she got a
Mm,
bone marrow transplant.
mhm.
And she had a lot of successive problems, cancer related and not. And I looked at her bone marrow transplant as I have to squeeze the marrow out of every single day because
Mhm.
I don't know when it is my last day. And
Mm.
that translated into going a million miles an hour. And I had little signals like too much, too much, too much, but I just thought I can do it. I can do it. And I worked several jobs. I was a competitive athlete. I had just bought a house, and I had projects, and so I just was going nonstop for years. And I really did think I am living. This is what life is about.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, wow. So you
And
were
it's
like
not.
a hamster, right? A
I
hamster.
was a hamster.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. I was a hamster too. And you also had perfectionist tendencies.
I do. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I'm
And
recovering.
yeah, where did that come from?
That came from not feeling enough for
Hmm.
pretty much most of my life.
Okay.
And when I was young, I kind of was selective perfectionism wise. I kind of
Mhm.
let things go and was rebellious as a youth. And then when I got serious about my life, kind of after I graduated from college and I decided I want to go to grad school, that's when it really kicked in. And I just did a lot of compensatory things like overstudying, over preparing,
Mm.
overthinking,
Mm.
having the bar so high that
Mm.
I'm not going to hit it. So done is better than perfect
Right.
is a saying I just clicked with a few years ago, and I have to continually kind of readjust expectations and ask myself what's important, you know.
Right. So
Mhm.
you ignored that way of
Mhm.
living. I mean, you're
Mhm.
like that's it. This is how life's supposed to be until something happened. What happened?
Mhm. My body started to break down. I started having these injuries, soft tissue injuries that wouldn't heal, but I would kind of patch them up and keep going. And I had people around me who were not athletes who said, "You might want to slow down." And I just kind of discounted it because,
Mhm.
this is an athlete lifestyle. You push yourself to the limit, you ignore pain. And then I started to get sick, and I would have the same formula, but it would level me for weeks at a time. And then I would kind of recover a little bit, and then I would get leveled again. And so it was this cycle of,
Mhm.
okay, I'm okay. I'm going to try and push. And now I'm not okay. And now I'm in bed for 2 weeks or 3 weeks. And
Wow.
in there, I was in bed. I had something for 6 months. And so I pushed as much as I could until I couldn't really push anymore, and I was resisting what was
Mhm.
happening to
Mhm.
my body and to my life.
Mhm.
um, my husband and I met racing our bikes. That was a
Okay.
huge part of our life,
Uh-huh.
is exercise. Even we did bike tours, we did a loaded bike tour in New Zealand, just the two of us with our own maps and all that. and
Wow.
and would do a lot of, every trip was around movement, exercise, doing things. And so that was a huge loss when I
Mhm.
was sick. And then I had a number of other losses, that were like a lit match to all the infections and the bugs that were harboring in my body that I had been
Mhm.
trying to kind of tamp down for so
Yeah.
long.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, Heidi, do you believe number one, you couldn't stop, and the body provides us signals
Yeah.
that something's up. I mean, hey, if you're not gonna slow down, then I think I'm gonna give you some challenges, you know.
Yeah.
Or was it that, or stress, or just pushing yourself? What, it was a combination of what do you believe that got you not feeling very well?
I think it was pushing too hard.
Uh-huh.
And then I did take a big step back. But then in 2016, I lost my like super soulmate of a dog to cancer. And then
Mhm.
2 months later, my sister committed suicide.
Mm,
And then my
mm,
my wedding was 6 weeks after that.
mm,
And then I
mm,
lost my mom a year later and
mm.
lived with my parents for her last 3 months down in California. And then I had car accidents, layoffs, like all kinds of things that
Right.
that were, I look back and I think I 100% take responsibility for
Mhm.
all of the illnesses that were going on because I didn't slow down. Like I had guilt and shame for years about that.
Yeah.
And then I do look back and I think, all these massive losses were what ignited the inflammation in every system of my body. And by 2021, I lost my career. I couldn't drive. I was in bed. Most of the time
Mhm.
I lost so much, and I feel now that I had to
Mhm.
really do what I needed to do years
Mhm.
ago, and that is to look inside myself. And I
Right.
was looking elsewhere for so
Yep.
long,
Mhm.
and as hard as everything was, because boy, it was hard, and
Yeah.
at times it still is, but
Yeah.
I think it was a whole combination. And stress is I mean, that will light everything on fire
Yes.
that's
Yeah.
there. And
Mhm.
I trained people in, neuroplasticity, limbic system, all somatics, a lot of things to quiet your nervous system.
Yeah.
But um, that wasn't enough, and I knew it. And I had these little voices in my head all along, and
Mhm.
I just didn't listen to them. And
Okay.
I think that's, I think the universe was like, you got to listen. Like
Yeah.
you're crazy. You're not going to be long for this world.
Exactly.
Don't
Exactly.
wake up.
Yeah. Wow. And I wanted to really
Yeah.
bring that out for my listeners because, we all have stories and
Mhm.
we see ourselves through the stories, but we have to reclaim our power.
Yeah.
And everybody's story is different,
Mhm.
and we all need each other. And I know for a fact, stress will kill you.
It
And
will.
I
Mhm.
recall always going to the doctor, and the doctor would say, "You're just stressed." And I would get
Mhm.
even more stressed because I'm
Yeah.
like, what do you mean I'm just stressed? I mean, I was
Yeah.
very upset about them telling me all the time that I was stressed out.
Mhm.
And it's real. And
Mhm.
particularly you doing things, and I don't know whether you like the job you were doing or when you were
Mhm.
growing up, did you have a dream that you wanted to do something or did you have a dream of being of doing something?
I had a dream of being an Olympic athlete
Mhm.
in
Okay.
equestrian or skiing
Uh-huh.
when I was growing
Uh-huh.
up. But I was completely burned out in occupational therapy, and that's I mean, I love helping people, and I
Sure.
love figuring out complex
Yeah.
injuries and situations. But I was in a system that is so broken,
Mhm.
and I was getting squeezed so much
Mhm.
with the productivity expectations and
Mhm.
um, decreased insurance coverage, so I'd have only
Yeah.
6 visits with and so it just I'm an empath. I wanna, I gave and gave and gave, and I had nothing left, and I
That's
just
right.
was so burned out. But then it was the question of, well, if not this, then what? Because
Yeah.
I worked
Right.
so hard for all these advanced certifications and to really
Mhm.
craft my skills to be the
Mhm.
best that I can be.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then where am I gonna go? What am I gonna start with next? I don't
Hey.
even know. So
Yeah.
I'll I'll stay with it, and I got laid off, and I think that was an opportunity back
Mhm.
in 2018, but I just found another occupational therapy job,
Right.
It's
That's
like,
right. Because
okay,
that's what you can
I'll
do.
just do
Right.
that because that's what I
Uh-huh.
know.
That's
So
right.
it was that fear of the unknown,
Mhm.
and then
Mhm.
I'm doing something different now. But I think, if we're not in tune and listening and open, I just drive right past the exit,
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. And
So
many of us do. And
yeah.
you even slowed down,
Hmm.
and that still wasn't enough.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you found what I call a lifeline, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what was that? What was that?
Well, I really hit rock bottom in 2021 because it was pandemic, but I was already alone. I wasn't going anywhere. I wasn't doing anything because I was so sick. And I didn't have a doctor. And all these years, 10 years, I never had a diagnosis. I had one
Mm.
diagnosis, and
Yeah.
that was what we were operating off of. And that wasn't even the main thing. But I didn't have a doctor. I didn't have a treatment plan.
Oh my gosh.
And I was really scared because I have a really high risk for breast cancer, and that's what took
Yeah.
my mom in 6 months. And I remember I was sitting in my kitchen and I just thought I have no one. I mean, I have my husband, I have my dad, but they don't really get it unless you're in it.
Yes.
You all have a different experience, and theirs is
Exactly.
very hard as well. But I had searched outside myself for so long, and I had nothing.
Mm.
And I turned the question inward and I just said, what am I believing about my
Mhm.
ability to heal? And I
Mhm.
had never in all these years confronted myself with that question. I was just like, okay, the next doctor, what's going on? This is going to help me. This is going to help me. But it didn't so many
Right.
times that I was like, okay. So I sat with that question, and
Wow.
the truth was that I actually was believing that I'm not going to heal and that
Mm.
I'm going to continue to get worse because that's what had been happening to me.
Mhm.
I had been getting worse. And I
Yeah.
thought in all these things that I was doing, and I was doing a lot of other things for, different programs.
Sure.
They felt really prescriptive, and the missing piece was all along it was me, and it was this little voice like, you have the power to heal inside you, and you need
Mhm.
to look inside.
Mhm.
And so I thought, if I don't believe in myself
Mhm.
and I don't believe in my ability to heal, I could have the best doctor in the world. i'm not
Exactly.
I'm not going to heal.
Right.
So I started journaling. I started a
Mhm.
meditation practice. I created rituals. I put sticky notes everywhere. Believe, 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 believe. And I
Mhm.
dove into research because I'm a nerd. And the biology of belief, huge. Our
Mhm.
50 trillion cells, they are always listening.
Mhm.
And we are powerful healers. And I'm not saying don't go to the doctor. I
Sure.
did eventually find a doctor. But that piece of what's mine to do, what's mine that I can do is giant. And it doesn't matter if it's illness or it's confidence or it's esteem or it's compassion. It's so big. And I I just started on this journey. I had, it's funny. I didn't have any expectations. I just felt like, okay, I'm doing a research project. Here's a pilot study of
Mhm.
sample size of one. And I'm going to research, what's the
Mhm.
science behind gratitude and
Mhm.
intention and attention and choice and self-compassion
Right.
and
Right.
love. And those all have a significant effect on our immune system as well as our nervous system. And
Mhm.
so I just kind of, it evolved without thinking like, oh, I'm on this journey. And then I just one day realized, wow, I've got this ally inside of me that I call my
Yeah.
unshakable me. And it's this source of strength, of resilience, of joy. And it's through connecting with myself, giving myself
Mhm.
compassion and love and kindness and belief. And that
Mhm.
built it up into something that's really profound and has changed my life in every way. And I replaced doing with being. And it's something I just want for everyone because it's possible. And that's
Mhm.
why I'm That's why I'm talking to you. That's why I'm
Yeah.
doing this, because it's so attainable and
Yeah.
it's right here for us. But we've been taught to look outside ourselves for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And and if you were on, I would say, a 4-year journey, a
Yeah.
self-discovery
It's still
journey.
unfolding, Cassandra.
Sure. I bet. I
Yeah.
bet. I
It will
bet.
be. It will be
Yeah.
forever, but
Yeah.
it's
And
great.
I know. And we're a quick fix society. We want everything now. And it
Mhm,
doesn't work
mhm.
like that.
Mm-mm, mm-mm, mm-mm.
So all that you did to try to, what my therapist used to say, Cassandra, you need to come home to yourself. And I'm like, what are
Yeah.
you talking about? It's kind
Yes.
of like the doctor telling me I was stressed. I'm like, what do you mean come home to myself?
Yeah.
And I was
Yeah.
really struggling with that, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you went through a process like many of my listeners. If you want to get, if you want to get somewhere else, you got to do something different. So
Yeah.
I'm just grateful that you were maintained because you had a message. Like all of us
Mhm,
have something. We're not here just
mhm.
for the sake of being here.
No, no.
We're not what I would call, we're not human machines. We are human beings.
Mhm,
And we just
mhm.
work and we got to do this and we have to do that because that sounds like you indicate that's kind of the right thing to do. That's kind of how we grew up, and we have to be
Mhm.
busy. We can't sit around and look at TV and read all
Yeah.
day and all of that.
Yeah.
So and I love your ally, the Unshakable Me. And
Mhm,
and I love it when you said the power that you gain when you think back over your life. Look where you are now. And
mhm.
we're all a work in process. So tell us about that unshakable me. How did you find yourself and discover joy and connection? What did you do? What were some tools and practices that you did?
Yeah. So interestingly, it was just I was at the park that I go to a lot, and I heard this voice that said "Unshakable Me," and you're going to build a program,
Mhm.
and that was, you know, okay. But it's um it's it's a noun. It's not unshakable, which is an adjective that suggests coming and going. It's
Mhm.
it's a part of you that is always there. And it
Mhm.
is a part of you that in my case I covered up because I didn't feel enough. I felt, I don't want to let on that I may not have an answer, for a patient or a client. I want to be seen as this way. And then through this process, it really forced me to go there, to be vulnerable and to peel back the layers of
Mhm.
not enoughness, the layers of things that I don't like about myself or would like to change or would like to be different.
Yeah.
But I did a lot of meditation with Tara Brach, who is incredible. I don't know if you know of her.
Her. Yes, I
She
have.
she is a gift to this world. I sent her
Really?
a card
Uh-huh.
and told her she changed my life because I tried meditation before and clearly I did not understand what it was about. But she
Right.
has this whole kind of acceptance piece and sitting with the discomfort. And
Uh-huh.
so Buddhism is a little bit of an influence for me too, to just
Mhm.
say, okay, it's all here.
Mhm.
It's okay. Whereas I was always relating to the least attractive or the biggest symptom that I felt like this is the whole of who I am. And my symptoms were very consuming, and it was hard for me to see outside that. My world had shrunk so much. So, feeling part of a larger world, getting outside every day, even
Yeah.
if it's just in my backyard,
Uh-huh.
to feel this connection to everything.
Okay.
And that helped so much with this feeling of separation that I had from the world because I felt like everyone's living their lives and I'm in bed. I'm not
Yes.
living. I'm in these,
Yes.
this prison, and I had created a prison in my mind on top of the physical prison I was in because of all my symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
And I started a gratitude practice where I really would marinate in the gratitude for whatever and just breathe it in and really feel it fill my body. I took an
Mm-hmm.
intention masterclass
Okay.
and set intentions every day. And I still set intentions for every day. I set an intention every time I get in my car that everyone on the road is safe and gets to their destination safely. So and tasks and just the abundance of every day. So and journaling,
Okay.
movement. So all those things, and breath work. I also do. I do a lot, Cassandra. I do a lot.
Yeah.
But it's just fortifies me and just grounds me. And a huge piece is awareness, and awareness of the stories that I was believing, which that one day in the kitchen, that was the first kind of crack through the doorway of, you're believing this story. Is it
Right.
true? Is it true? Well, it hasn't happened yet. So no, it can't be true.
Right.
So
Yeah.
really looking at my stories and looking at, what am I believing about the story? What am I believing about me? And what are other people believing that is influencing what I'm believing? And
Mm-hmm.
working on visualizing a different future. I never created a vision of, what's the healthy me look like? What does
Right.
the vibrant me look like?
Wow. Yeah.
And it's so easy to get caught in the day-to-day, the survival, which is what I was doing.
Yeah.
But you lose sight of what could it look like? What could it look
Mm-hmm.
like?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
go there in my mind every
Mm-hmm.
day and be there and use the senses, be rich with all the senses,
Mm-hmm.
and feel that, because your body doesn't know if you're doing it or if you're thinking about doing it, and you release a lot of amazing chemicals in your body when you are feeling that joy, that calm, that love, that
Mm-hmm.
connection.
Yeah.
And that in itself, I know there's a lot on manifestation and all that stuff, and this is more of just, a picture in my mind, experiencing it and just feeling good. And it gave me hope, and that kind of kept me going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know what I'm finding that's interesting is you were at a place like what I call your wits end.
Mm-hmm.
And when we get to our wits end, we have a choice.
Yeah.
We could be bitter about it or better. And thank God you chose better.
Mm-hmm.
So you made that decision. It's all about making a decision. This
Mm-hmm.
is where I am. I don't like it. I can wall in it. I don't want to experience what my relative experienced because, we talk about suicide. Suicide's big.
It's
I,
huge.
I,
It's
I'm
huge.
not dismissing it, and it's real.
Yeah. Yeah.
Depression is real. And
Mm-hmm.
so,
Mm-hmm.
and when that happens and you kind of make a decision, that to me, and I always say that when the student's ready, the teacher will appear. Stuff will start coming like, okay, all right, I can't take it no more. Then stuff
Mm-hmm.
start coming. And then for me, I would pray and say, okay, God, help me get busy. Help me execute. You
Mm-hmm.
do you, whatever it's going to take for you, instead of getting hung up on, well, I
Yeah.
can't do this because of my religion. And I'm not down in religion, but you got to, they're different modalities that
Mm-hmm.
everybody, some people accept, some will not, but there will be something that comes to you where you will be open and accept it because you are desperate. you
Yeah.
know yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that, it's so true, because for so many years I felt like I didn't have any choice.
Mhm.
And we always do.
Yes,
We
we do.
always do. We don't have a choice in everything that happens to us,
Right.
but we have a choice in what we perceive, the meaning we want to assign to it, and ultimately what we want to create in our life.
Right.
And I read a book called The Choice by Edith Eger. Have you heard of her?
I haven't heard of her, but I heard about the choice.
She was pulled from a pile of dead bodies in Auschwitz when the camp was,
Mm,
the Americans came into the camp.
mhm,
And she is a miracle. She's amazing. She's a tiny Hungarian woman. She's
mm,
a powerful woman. And she said, the biggest prison is in your mind, and
mm.
in your pocket, you already hold the key.
Yeah, you do.
And that saying just resonated with me. And for so many years, I wasn't ready. I
Yeah,
resisted. I
that's right.
resisted. And it was crazy
Right.
because it's like, Heidi, you're losing everything. You're losing, look at you. Nope,
Hmm.
I'm not a sick person. I don't
That's right.
identify with that. I'm fighting it. And it was crazy. But I thought, acceptance meant definition. That's who I am, and it doesn't at all. And I think too, accepting meant that I now have a choice. It's here. I can choose to let all of that negative thing in my life, illness, the not enoughness, I can let that make my choices for me. Or
Hmm.
I can say, hey, you're here. You're part of this huge giant beach.
Right.
I'm not one grain of sand. I'm the beach. I am under the ocean. I am so many things.
Yeah. And
I'm
you are.
going to choose the things that bring in energy and
Yes.
not suck it out. I'm not going to choose those things. But I get to choose. I get to choose if somebody says something or does something mean. I choose, do I want to respond or how I want to respond?
Exactly.
I choose.
Exactly.
I
That's
choose.
right. That's right. It's just like you choose individuals in your circle
Yep.
because you have to be careful who you surround yourself with.
You
That's
bet. You bet.
critical. That's
Mhm.
critical. So
Mhm.
I am so grateful for you sharing, your meditation, your journaling, your setting the intention daily. Also, the choice, the books you've read, the people that were in your life, and all of that is working for you. So,
Mhm.
so when I think about my listeners, and those are individuals that are just where you are, stuck.
Yeah.
I'm
Mhm.
not living my life on my terms. And there are many of us don't know what that is. If I say, are you living your best life? Yeah, I think, yeah, but it's something to really think about. So
Yeah.
if I ask you based on where you've been and where you are now, from a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being the best, where are you on that scale now, Heidi?
You know, I would say I'm probably an 8 or 9. I feel like if if tomorrow was my last day, I feel like I've really lived and I've
Yeah.
found the key to living.
Mm,
I do I have more growing to do? Yes. Do I have more healing to do? Yes. But I feel this sense of just a groundedness and a connection. And just like you were saying, I know my purpose. I know why I'm here. And I believe all of us are here at this time for a purpose.
that's right.
And for me, I had to slow down. And if I get going too fast, my
Mm-hmm.
body says,
Mm-mm.
correction,
Yep.
you're going to be feeling fatigue or all these symptoms. You need to, I'm very much more like I'm listening. I'm awake.
Right.
I feel like I was sleepwalking through life before.
Exactly. And you know
But
your limitations.
yeah, I mean, I know that this part of my life, I walk the walk, and I walk what I say is what I do. And sometimes it gets imbalanced and sometimes it has to, because there are things that I have to do, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Even 5 minutes a day, which I spend more than that on meditation and just being present.
Yeah.
And breathing, even just putting my hand on my heart, take a breath, be here in this moment, and
Awesome.
celebrate it.
Yeah.
That's enough. And so I love life. I love life. And it's got a lot of hard stuff in it still, but that's okay, because I've made it through before, and I know I have the resilience to get through.
Yeah. And I can feel that energy. And I remember talking to a neighbor 3 days ago, and I asked her I said, "How are you doing?" She said, "Do you know, I feel like I'm in heaven." And I
Oh,
said,
I love that.
"Really?" That took me aback. And I was like, "Really? That is phenomenal." She said, "Because I've been to hell. I've had my dark stories. I know what that's like. But right now I'm in heaven." And that's where I would love for my listeners to be in that place, because it's a beautiful thing. And it won't be up all the time, but at least you had a piece of heaven. And hey, that's just peace that surpasses all my understanding.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
And Einstein said you can live your life as if everything is a miracle or as if nothing is a miracle.
Exactly.
And I look at nature and I just see what a miracle everything is.
Exactly.
Everything.
Exactly. So Heidi,
Yeah.
how can my listeners get in touch with you?
Unshacableme.com is my website. I've got a lot of free resources for people. I also have a YouTube channel to see videos. That's Unshakable Me is the handle for that. I'm on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, all the places. And yeah.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you. I know my listeners have enjoyed this, and I ask my listeners to please share this with someone that you know this will bless them. That's what this is all about. It's not about me. It's not about Heidi. It's all about you. And if Heidi was in a dark place, Cassandra surely has been in a dark place, and I thought I would never get out. But look at us now. And also reach out for your help. Reach out for your resources. Check in with Heidi. Look at her website. Look at her YouTube. Do whatever it is you have to do to start living this life, so when it's time for you to go, you will have no regrets. So again, Heidi, I want to thank you so much. And as I say to all my listeners, I always say bye for now. God bless you, and I love you. Heidi, thanks again. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me and allowing me to share my story and what's helped me.
Absolutely, because how to see through your stories and reclaim your power. And that's something you have done. Thank you so much.